We still have a long way to go, but we owe thanks to men like Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X that we have come as far as we have. They had different methods but the same goal, the same dream, for prejudice to be abolished and for racial equality to become a reality in every state. Martin Luther King Jr. believed that nonviolent protest was the best way to fight for equality. He believed that you must respond to hate with love, and that they needed to rise to the majestic heights of meeting physical force with soul force, as he says in his famous "I Have a Dream" speech. Dr. King believed that no matter what atrocities the African American population was forced to endure, they needed to rise above it, that they must not be guilty of using violence to get what they wanted. His peaceful methods of fighting for equality make him a role model not just for African Americans, but also for anyone looking to make the world a better place. On the other hand, we have Malcolm X, a man who believed that we had to gain civil rights by any means necessary, violence included. His methods varied greatly from Dr. King's, but they were arguably just as effective. His methods of literally fighting for equality earned him fierce critics, but even fiercer supporters, mostly made of young black men that thought Dr. King's approach was too slow and was coming too late. Malcolm X grew up in a much less stable environment than Dr. King, which could have contributed to the differences in philosophies. His methods may have been harsher, but they were not nearly as harsh as the treatment African Americans were forced to endure every day, so many believed his methods were justified and necessary. One thing is agreed on, however: these two men were instrumental in the civil rights movement of the 50s and 60s, and life would not be the way it is today without them. But whose method was better? Whose was morally correct? You may identify with Dr. King's approach, while another will agree with Malcolm X. The decision is an ethics question. When someone pushes you, do you push back harder, or do you use verbal force to resolve the problem? They say an eye for an eye only makes the world blind, but when you have been wronged to the fullest extent, at what point do you strike back with all the anger of the oppressed? Is it really better to rise above physical violence, or is it necessary? I happen to believe in a combination of these two methods. If someone hits me, I will not let them escape without a bruise of their own, but at the same time it can be better to choose your battles. It can be better to meet physical force with soul force. You have to be able to control yourself enough not to lash out with physical force at every wrongdoing. Oftentimes that takes more courage than using physical force. However, at the same time, it is important to be willing to protect yourself and your family by putting the person assaulting you on their back. No matter the differences between Dr. King and Malcolm X, they both agreed on one thing: the civil rights movement of the 50s and 60s was only a beginning. We still have a long way to go. We have to respect the memory of these two great men by finishing what they started. We have to abolish racism as we abolish segregation. Only then will America truly be a great nation. Only then will we finally all be free at last.